Hi, my name's Dick. I'm alcoholic, codependent, and a lot of other things. And I've been asked by Maru to talk on my recovery. And I always try to do recovery service whenever I can. So I'm going to talk for 45 minutes to an hour and give you an idea of what my journey has been in recovery. I got into AA because I was alcoholic, and I was a chronic drunk, and I had done some things that were going to get me put in prison. And what happened is they offered me, I was 35 years old and I'd done a lot of bad things. And what they offered me was that I could either go to this 12-step program or prison. And I wasn't very healthy, and I'm sitting here thinking, I don't want to do either one of those. Well, what happened was I'm thinking about it, and the judge said, you have to make a decision. Do you want to go to prison or do you want to do this recovery? And it dawned on me, as sick as I was at that time, that I can run from this program. I can't run from prison. So I picked the program, not because it would work or I thought it would help me. I picked it because I was thinking I can take off if I don't succeed. Well, when I went to AA, like the court said, I actually started, I was 35 years old. It was July 4th, 1980. And I was going to AA in my hometown where I live. And what happened was I went to my first AA meeting, and it was kind of humorous because when I walked in, I looked around and I said, oh, this is where they've been holding the class reunions, because everybody I knew was in there. They're drunks. And anyway, I started asking around to these people I know from the dark side of life. And I said, what's going on here? What's the game? What do you got to do? And they said, no, it is no game. It's you accept the program and you do it or you don't. And I said, well, I have prison hanging on me, so I want to do it. And they said, okay, first thing you got to do is go to meetings, get a sponsor, read the literature, and don't drink alcohol. Okay, I can do that. I started doing that. And as I was in these meetings, what I kept seeing was people who were like me that had done a lot of bad stuff, and they were doing good. They actually were happy, joyous, and free. And I thought, well, how did you do that? And they kept telling me, do this program, 12 steps, 1 through 12, and then get a sponsor, go to meetings, read the books, and that's all you have to do. And build a relationship with the higher power. It don't have to be God. It can be. It can be God or the nature, anything you want it to be. And I started very low. I just said, okay, I'll trust the meetings, I'll trust AA, and I'll trust my sponsor, and that's all I'm going to do. I don't believe in God. Well, they said that it would work. So I kept going to meetings, and I kept going to meetings. And I kept seeing these people improving and getting better, and I couldn't figure it out because I looked at the 12 steps and I said, do you people realize the 12 steps are analytically unsound? They're asking you to surrender to something you don't even know exists. And then you turn your life and will over to that. Well, that doesn't sound very sensible to me. But what I did learn was I turned it over to the program and people that were in it, and I started getting better. I didn't realize it, but friends were telling me, you're getting better. And I said, oh, well, I don't think I've changed. And they said, yeah, you have. It was going to these meetings and talking with my sponsor and doing the simple things they told me. Well, I kept doing that. I got my first year in AA, and I got feedback from another person that was a sponsor and a professional counselor. And they said, you're not going to get healthy emotionally in the family you came from. They're dysfunctional. They're good people and they're nice, but what they're doing ain't working. And I didn't like that. And I thought, oh, well, what's the bottom line of this program? It's wreck families. And they said, no, not to wreck families, but to teach you how to deal with your family. And I did, because I was desperate. And so I got into Al-Anon after a year. And right now I have 41 years in AA and 40 years in Al-Anon. So what happened was, between the two of them, AA kept me from using chemicals, and Al-Anon kept me from, I said, what's the difference between AA and Al-Anon? And they said, if you are thinking of using mood altering chemicals, go to AA. If you're thinking homicide and suicide, go to Al-Anon. Well, I spent a lot more time in Al-Anon than I did in AA, more meetings, but it started to work. I started not being as angry. I started to be more open-minded. I thought I was, but I wasn't. And as I got open-minded and entertained thoughts that I thought were stupid, they worked and they kept working. So I kept doing them. I said, okay, this program seems to be, doesn't make me happy, joyous, and free, but it's not hurting me. So I'm going to stay in. I stayed in AA and Al-Anon for quite a long time. And then I realized I need something more, and I didn't know what it was. And it turned out to be what I needed was ACA, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics, which is another 12-step program. And I got into that. And I said, I started to learn how dysfunctional my family was, even though they're good people and try hard. They don't believe in God. They don't believe they're very stubborn people. And that's how I was, very stubborn and very opinionated. So the people I was going to meetings with in AA and Al-Anon were not like that. And I didn't like what I saw in my family, so I stayed in, and I started being more like the people in AA and Al-Anon. And I started to see that my family was more dysfunctional than I ever dreamt they were. So what I did was, okay, now I'm done. I got AA, Al-Anon, and ACA. But what happened was about 11 years ago, I was in a relationship with a friend in recovery. We're both trying to live these 12 steps. We're good people, and we got into a relationship, but it didn't work. And, we were together for about 6 months or a year, and we both agreed, you're a nice guy. She's a nice lady. Why ain't this working? And we're both in recovery. Well, that's when I found out. I was telling a friend about it. And what happened was, he told me that his wife was in CODA. And I hadn't even know what that was 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago. I said, well, what is CODA? And he said, it's Codependence Anonymous. And I said, hey, I'm in all these other programs and I'm doing this 12-step stuff. I don't need another 12-step program. And what he told me was, which was very, very grateful for me, was, why don't you try 6 meetings? If you don't like it, they'll refund your misery. That's what they told me in every program I went to. Well, I kept going because it worked. So I got into this CODA, and what really hooked me on CODA was the requirement. Like AA is a desire to stop drinking, Al-Anon is a problem with a friend or relative with drinking. CODA is not about drinking. CODA is about, do you want healthy, loving relationships? And I didn't realize at the beginning of my CODA, I don't have them. I have, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but they say alcoholics don't have relationships, they take hostages. And codependents don't have relationships, they coddle and fix everybody else in the world. So I'm in those 2 programs long-term. And I said, well, what's the difference with CODA? And they said, just try 6 meetings. You don't like it, you can quit. And you'll get your money, you'll get your misery back. I did the 6 meetings, and just like the other meetings, I seen something there that these people had that I didn't have. And I said, well, I want to stick around and try to get this because they're doing better than I am. Well, as I stayed in ACA for quite a few years, I started to realize that it was my issues are from my family, and I have a lot of fear. It's more about the emotions than it is about drinking or Al-Anon. And I said, I have a lot of defects. I'm opinionated. I had anger. I had rage. I've had violence in my life. And I wanted to get rid of that. And I thought the other programs would do it, but they didn't. In CODA, when I did all the steps and did the work, I realized I'm a lot sicker than I thought I was. So I stayed in CODA, and going backward a little bit, in AA, I did 17 years clean and sober and got really, really healthy in my community and my family. They welcomed me back and they said, you know, not drinking is good for you. Well, at 17 years, I ran into a problem. It's called post-traumatic stress. And I didn't even know what PTSD was, but the VA helped me. And they said, you have post-traumatic stress disorder. And I said, well, what's that now? And they said, that's from Vietnam. When you were in the war, you got mentally messed up. And I said, well, that was 50 years ago. How could I be messed up? I've been living just fine. And they said, no, you haven't. You've been existing and surviving, but you're afraid of vulnerability. You're afraid of intimacy. You're afraid of anything that you can't control or manipulate. And that rung a bell. I said, yeah, that's probably true. I like to be in control. I like to know what I'm doing. And they said to me in a meeting, well, how's that working for you? And I said, not very well. So I decided to take their challenge and start trying to be more vulnerable, be more open, be more loving. And it's very, very slow, but I gradually got rid of the violence. I gradually got rid of the real rage and anger. And now I thought I could get rid of anger, but that's a human emotion and I'm human. And I still have anger. I still have lust, greed, self-centeredness, pride, but they're not the way they used to be. All those character defects used to run my life. Now that I've been in recovery for 41 years, I manage these problems. They don't manage me. But it took a long time and I didn't, you know, it's like watching grass grow. I've never seen grass grow, but you wait a week and you got to get the lawnmower out again. So it is growing. I was changing at that same rate. I never saw any change in me, but after a week or a month or a year, I said, whoa, hey, I haven't been as mad as I used to be, or I'm not as lonely as I used to be, blah, blah, blah. That worked. So I didn't believe yet that all these promises were going to come true. But what I did do was that I believed this isn't hurting me and I'm getting better, so I'm going to stick it out. And I'm in all those programs still today. My life in AA, they teach you to say, what was it like? What happened? And what are you like now? And I was a 35-year drunken person. I was a wife beater. I was violent. I was a criminal. I was insane. I was a very nasty, dirty, rotten person. And when I got into treatment, they started to help me see how bad I had gotten, and I was totally unaware of it. The judge in the court helped me realize the things I had done were very, very serious, and I can lose my freedom. So I'm serious about the program and I'm trying to get rid of all these negatives. And I'm still working on that because the treatment with professionals, and then they sent me to all these 12-step programs, has made me a better person. It takes time. It's not a quick fix. I get frustrated with how slow it happens. But the good news for me is that I stayed. And what I heard in July 4th, 1980 in the treatment, and I've been hearing it in 12-step meetings and post-traumatic stress recovery, for the last 40 years is keep coming back to meetings. Well, some days I don't want to go to meetings, and that's okay. They said, come back to meetings when you don't want to, when you want to. If you don't know if you want to, it doesn't matter. Just keep going back to meetings. And I thought, oh boy, okay, I can do that. I've been in meetings now 41 years. I've been in tons of meetings. But the difference of the post-traumatic stress disorder was the VA hospital said it's a mental disorder. And in the big book, it says alcoholics can recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Some of us have emotional and mental disorders. They can recover if they have the capacity to be honest. I went down to the VA and I was honest, and I started to recover through psychiatric help from the psychiatrist and meds. I got better, and I started to deal with these nightmares and ghosts I had in my head from Vietnam. And that was in about 1997. So 07, 17, about 25 years of recovering from this mental illness from Vietnam. So now I thought, now I'm not alcoholic, I'm not codependent, I'm not post-traumatic stress. I am not any of that anymore. And they said, yes, you are. You will die a Vietnam vet, you will die an alcoholic, you will die a codependent. But if you stay in these programs, what's going to change is that what's going to happen to you is you will manage it, it won't manage you. And that's the promise they gave me, and it did happen. I manage my anger. I still make mistakes. I lose my temper, but I haven't been violent in 41 years, which is very, very powerful. I never thought I would be a nonviolent person. And with God's help, I'm going to stay nonviolent, but I do know now, like the big book taught me, my higher power is doing for me what I could not do for myself. I had to go to meetings and get help. I had to do all of this stuff. And, you know, I had trouble with the higher power. Now I look back and why do crops grow? Why do the trees grow? Why is the air breathable? There's something out there making all this stuff work, and it ain't me or anybody else. So I started believing in like the universe and the mysteries of science. What's a black hole? I don't even know. And from what I hear, the scientists don't know either, because nobody dares go in there, because that'll be the end of you. So what they don't know would fill the Pacific Ocean, and what they know would be fill a thimble. So they're working on understanding, but the program gave me everything that I needed. The program gave me the ability to be open-minded and actually do and listen to things that I thought, well, that's dumb, or I don't want to do that. And I do it anyway. And what kept happening is it worked. And I thought, well, the first time I had a real good change, my mentor asked me, he said, it was making my bed. I wouldn't make my bed because I had to do that in the military. And he said, pray to God and turn it over. I did, and now I make my bed. And he said, what do you think of that? And I said, that was a fluke, luck. He said, well, try it again. And I did it with my anger. I did it with my codependency. The more I turn it over and believe in a higher power, then I get power when I surrender. And I thought, well, that doesn't make sense, but it works. I've been doing it, and I swear, surrender to win. And boy, it took me a long time to buy that, and I do today. What I give to my higher power is in tow, working very well. What I haven't given to them, because I'm not able, I'm still human. And if I get afraid, I'm not going to give them my money problems. Maybe I'll go broke. Well, everything I turn over gets better. And the things I hang on to, I love my mentor who kept saying is that, well, I'm going to hang on to my finances. I'll take care of that myself. He says, how's that working? That's not very good. He says, you hang on to your relationships. Yeah, I'll make them work. How's that working for you? Not very good. So doing this surrendering and surrendering and surrendering, I'm getting better and better and better. So I started to get willing to surrender. God, take care of everything. Well, I made another big mistake in my recovery, and that was I thought, okay, now that I know God is real and that he does care about people and he's working miracles, I'm going to turn over everything. He can, the program says turn your life and will over. 11 says pray for knowledge of his will for you and the power to carry that out, not your will. So I tried to do that, and I was going to do it perfectly. Well, then I found out I am a human being. I cannot perfectly have a relationship with God. I'm a human and I'm flawed. So God is very patient with me. He keeps me in recovery. He keeps me hearing about things I need to change. He does all this stuff. And most of the time without my awareness, I thought, life don't seem to be getting all that great to me. And then I look back and I have a sponsor who knew me back in the first 35 years. And he said, you don't think your life is getting better? And I said, well, I haven't won the lottery and I ain't getting tons of money and, everything isn't going my way. And he said, how long since you've needed an attorney? I said, well, since I got in recovery. How long have you not had to pay a fine for prison or criminal acts since I've been in recovery? He says, how long has it been since you totaled the car out? Well, since I've been in, okay, I got it. You're right. Things are better because I'm not. I heard a saying in a meeting that was, I may not be what I should be, and I may not be what I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be. I was not a good person. Today, I'm still a human, I'm still flawed, but I am doing so much more good for myself, for my higher power, and for recovery, because that's all I have. Nothing else ever worked for me. These 12 steps in all the programs, they're the same steps in every program. OA, EA, NA, you name it, the steps stay the same. One, you admit powerlessness and you admit unmanageability. 2, you come to believe in a higher power, whatever you perceive that to be, just a power. You can't be the higher power. You got to have a power greater than yourself. 3, you turn your life and will over to that. 4, you do your inventories, and then you do a 5th step. You get a trusted person and God in a place that you trust, and you come clean and you tell the deep secrets that you're afraid to tell anybody. Then you go on to 6 and 7. You talk with your higher power. You say, will you, God, help remove these defects of character? I can't do it. I remember when I couldn't not get angry. Now I can manage it. So I asked him. He didn't take them all, but he's working on it, and it's way better than it used to be. That's the only thing I know for sure. I didn't leave nothing back in those 35 years in the dark, and I'm not going back there looking for anything because I might not get out again. I'm staying in recovery. So you do 6 and 7, and God does the work. You become willing. And I thought, well, that isn't fair. How come I got to do all the work and he gets to make the decisions? And he told me in my mind's eye, he said, well, when you make the decisions, what happens? And I said, when I do self-will, I get in trouble or I cause trouble. And he says, well, what happens when you do it my way? And I said, well, people like me and things go good. He said, well, then who do you think should be making the decisions? And I said, oh, okay, I got it. I got to let you make the decisions. I got to prepare the work. I do the footwork. He does the outcome. So I've made peace with that. I said, you're right. Your record reads perfect and mine reads 0. So I'm going to trust you. So then you go to 8 and 9, which was not easy because now you got to clean up the mess you made in my first 35 years, plus all the mistakes I've made in recovery in my life. I've got to clean all that up now. So I said, okay, I made a list. I didn't, it wasn't very good, my first one, but I've been making lists very often in recovery. And they taught me in step 8, make the list in 3 columns. One is the willingness I have to make amends to my loved ones and my friends, the people I still want to be friends with. I'll do them. But there was the ones, well, I don't know if I want to do the middle ones. And then there's the third column of, I'm never going to do this. Never will I make amends to those people. I still hate them and they're terrible, blah, 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 blah. What happened was I did the first column. It wasn't so good. I got doing most of those that were maybe I'll do. And when I got them done, it would work so well. I even did the ones that I said I would never do. So that's step 8. I made the list in three groups, and then you come to 9. You actually go out and do this. Well, I needed a lot of help with the 9th step in making amends, because what happened was I thought I'll make the amends, and they said, no, God will help you make amends. And there are different ways to make amends. If you owe money, you pay the bill. If you took somebody's car, you give it back to them. All these ways, but I didn't know the way you can make amends is by not doing it anymore. I was a wife beater and I treated my wife horribly. And if I could change that and go back and do it, I would, but I can't. But my sponsor told me, you treat women very well today. Every day you do that, you're making an amend to your wife for what happened, because you don't do those things anymore. And now when my family says how I used to be, I said, you're talking ancient history 40 years ago. I don't do any of that today. I'm more honest, I'm more reliable, I'm more friendly, I'm a healthier, loving person. Not perfect, not great, not nothing like that, but I am making progress, and I still am after 41 years. So you get through 9, you make the amends, and you go to meetings and you talk with your sponsor before you make an amend to make sure they give you permission. Because I was going to make amends to my ex-wife, and they advised me not to do that because I'd caused so much pain in her life. I would be opening up old wounds, and they were right. I've never made amends to her because she knows what I'm doing, but we're not involved with each other at all anymore. So I did 8 and 9, and then comes step 10. And I'm still a little bit opinionated and rebellious, because it says continue to take personal inventory, and when we're wrong, promptly admit it. And I said, hey, wait a minute here. I did a 4th step back in the 4th step. Why do I have to do another inventory? And they said, because you continue to take personal inventories and work these steps for the rest of your life. So what you have to do is continue to take personal inventory. What step 10 is about is perseverance. That's what the principle behind step 10 is perseverance. You persevere and you keep persevering. I'm still persevering after 41 years, but I'm more willing to do it now than when I started. So you persevere, you do minor inventories, not like the big one of 4. You do daily, nightly, whatever works for you. You do these inventories. And when you're wrong, if you got mad at somebody and did something stupid, you make the amend. I'm sorry I did that. And if you get good at it, people see the change in you and it works. It doesn't always work right away, because I was pretty nasty to some of my friends, and it took a while for them to trust me again. In fact, one friend, after 10 years of not drinking, he came to me and he said, you know what? I think maybe you're not going to drink again because you've done it for 10 years. That's how long it took him. Most people forgave me in a year to 5, but not all of them. And I don't blame them, because I was a chronic alcoholic. So anyway, you do step 10, you admit you're wrong. Now you go to step 11. And this is a big one, because I really put the brakes on when they said, step 11 is sought, meaning seek. I sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God as I understand God, praying only for the knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry that out. Okay, that sounds like a little more than I can handle. I don't know that I want to do that. I said, what about me? What do I get? Don't I get to have a will and do what I want and be free? And I had that same talk with the higher power. He says, when you do your will, what happens? And I says, it doesn't work. He says, when you do my will, what happens? And I says, it works great. Sometimes it takes a long time to see that it worked, but it does work great. So what do I do? Okay, I'm going to try this. I wasn't big on prayer and meditation in the beginning. I went through a lot of outside help with meditating and how to pray, and learned a lot from clergy, from sponsors, from meetings, from friends. And lo and behold, the more I pray and meditate and ask and have a better relationship with God, praying only to do what he wants for me, the better it gets. Wow, what a surprise. And my sponsor laughed at me. He says, you've been in recovery a long time. And I went to him and I said, do you know this program really works? And he says, wow, are you quick on the uptake? It only take you 5, 10, 15, 20 years to know that this works. Well, it took me a long time to trust, and I have total trust in recovery. Not much trust in anything else other than my higher power, my program, my support people, professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists. I've been through a lot of outside help, including the post-traumatic stress, which was a mental illness, and I'm recovering. So I'm in step 11 doing this, and I'll be doing that till the day I die. Now I realize that God is doing for me what I could not do. God won't get me a date. He won't find me a parking spot. He won't make me more attractive. He won't make me younger. What he does is what I can't do. He said, I will keep you alive. I will work in your brain to where you will start understanding what working this program means. Let me recap here right now, if I can remember them. What are the principles of this program? The first time I heard of it, my sponsor said, are you working all these principles? Are you working these principles in all your affairs? And I said, yeah, I am. He said, what are they? And I said, well, what do you mean? What are they? You know, be good, be godly, whatever. I don't know. He says, no, there are 12 principles. I didn't know that. He said, I'll get you a list of them. He gave it to me and I memorized it if I can remember. 1 is honesty. 2, honesty, hope, faith, courage, integrity, willingness, brotherly love, self-discipline. Yeah, boy, now I'm having trouble. So, honesty, hope, faith, courage, integrity, willingness, humility, brotherly love, self-discipline, perseverance, ever-presence of God, and service. That's the 12 principles. I still got them, but I got to work at it. I need to read them again. So anyway, I am working those principles to the best of my ability, and I did the same as I did before. Now I'm going to get perfect. I'm going to work these principles. I'm going to work the 12 steps, and my life is going to get perfect. And they said, you can't perfect the program. Well, I'll show you. I'm going to do it. I ran into being human. I am a human, and to be human, a philosopher said, is to err. I still make mistakes. Law, me? I don't know. I thought I was perfect, and now I laugh. I'm nowhere near perfect. I'm never going to be perfect, but I'm surely not what I used to be. I'm getting better. I hope to improve till the day I die. How am I going to do that? Live these 12 steps, not work them or study them. I did both of those, but live them. Every day I'm called to live my 12-step program. So now we just got 11 in the bag, and I'm praying for God's will, not mine. And my faith has led me. My higher power is Jesus Christ. I'm a non-denominational Christian, but that took 35 years. So I started with a doorknob and friends and the sponsor and went through a bunch of it. I'm glad they didn't make me believe in God the first day I was in the program. I would have left. But now I believe there is a God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. There's an entity. And it is at work today in my life. It's growing the crops that I'm going to eat tomorrow. It's purifying the air that I'm breathing right now. The higher power does all those things. No planet run into our planets. He's doing this. He is not involved in my daily life. He influences me to follow his leading. I got to be meditating and say, God, what is it you want me to do today? And rarely is it what I think. Let's go shoot pool, or let's go to the beach. And sometimes he says, well, let's go to a meeting, or let's call a sponsor or call a sponsee. Oh, okay, I can do that because I know it works, and I do, but I'm not perfect. And so I'm improving, and in the big book of AA, it tells you I'm striving for progress, not perfection. I want to keep progressing. And if I want to do that, I've got to keep working the steps, living them, doing service work, doing whatever my higher power leads me to do. And that's when my will don't count anymore. I want my will to be his will because his works and mine don't. And it took me a long time to surrender that deeply, that even when I'm sick, I had cancer and almost died, he took care of it. No help for me. I gave up. I said, God, I want to die. And he says, no, I'm not done. And I survived cancer. I survived Vietnam. I've survived alcoholism and codependency, PTSD, on and on. A violent, lethal marriage. I survived it, and so did my wife. So we're still in the ball game trying to live this program. So what do we come to? Step 12. Sought through prayer and medication. That's 11. 12 is having had a spiritual awakening. As a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all our affairs. Okay, what does that mean? I'm a little confused here. When I was newer, and he said, okay, it's broken into 4 pieces to make it easier for you. Number 1, having had a spiritual awakening. I've had many of them now in my 41 years, and I'm still having them. It's like the epiphany of, oh, maybe I should go to a meeting. Maybe I should call my sponsor. So continue. Step 10, perseverance. So I'm continuing this, and I had a spiritual awakening. I'm not what I used to be. I'm a lot better, not perfect, but I'm a lot better. So I'm still improving. So that's the first part. I have these awakenings that I'm not as bad as I used to be. And I am getting better, and a lot of my support people and friends validate that. They said, whoa, you're way different than you used to be. Okay, so now I've had the spiritual awakenings, different kinds, the white light, the educational variety, the 2x4 between the eyes, and all these other ones. And what did I do? I got a spiritual awakening, or an epiphany, or a peak experience, whatever you want to call it. It's a change. So having had a change, how did I get this change? And it says, through working these 12 steps over and over and over again. I've been doing it, so now it's automatic, but in the beginning, I don't want to work these 12 steps. Well, I should want to. I knew that much, and I did do it. And I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and it's like riding a bike. The longer I rode it, the better I got at it. And it got easier. When I first got on the bike, the first thing I did was tipped over. Well, program was pretty much the same. First time I come into program, I messed it all up. I didn't get nothing right, except the one thing they told me, keep coming back. I kept doing that. And it came in like osmosis for me. I didn't realize I was getting better till friends started telling me, you're whatever you're doing, don't quit it, because you're a lot better than you used to be. Okay. And sometimes I acted as if, sometimes I really could see it. Hey, I am getting better. I'm going to keep doing this willingly. Well, I still am doing it. Keep coming back. So I had a spiritual experience, an awakening, and the next part is having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these 12 steps. Okay, I had that. Now what? we tried, big word, tried. We tried to carry this message of what happened to us to other people. And okay, what I've learned over the years is I tried to go out and save the world and all the people in it, and I failed miserably. But it said we carried this message. What message? The 12 steps, the spiritual awakening, and the other steps. That's all I have. That's it. I know the 12 steps and I try to live them. Okay, that's what I carry, not the person, not make them well. I don't have the power. I carry my experience, strength, and hope. What happened to me, what made me a better person than I've ever been, and I'm getting better every day by living this program. I've got that. And that's what I'm sharing with you. What happened to me, how it happened. I was against it all. I didn't believe this would work. I said, I'll wreck your program for you. I've wrecked everything I've ever been involved in. They said, you're not powerful enough to wreck this program. You're going to be amazed at the promises. And I was. So I'm trying to carry the message to you right now. And what it is I don't carry answers, magical stuff. I don't have a hotline or a red phone to God. I have the 12 steps and a lot of experience, strength, and hope in living this program. And that's what I'm passing on. Okay, now what's the next part? You've had a spiritual awakening. You've worked the 12 and lived the 12 steps. And now you're trying to carry the message. Whoa, they saved the best for last. The last part is practice these principles in all your affairs. Well, I had to go and get a list of the principles like you just seen. I don't have them as solid in my head as I'd like to have them, but I do know the 12 principles and I try to live them every day. It is not easy. Honesty, hope, faith, courage, integrity, willingness, humility, see, I got stuck there. But anyway, brotherly love, self-discipline, perseverance, and service. That's what I'm trying to do every day. And I've got to be conscious of this, or otherwise, if I go on automatic pilot, I go back to the easier, softer way. I know how to take shortcuts, and I don't have to do all this stuff anymore because I'm old and I've been doing this forever. That's the biggest mistake I can make. Everything I've learned in 41 years tells me I have to go back to day one and work the 12 steps continually, persevere in this program. And when I do that, my life gets better. Do I follow up? Do I make mistakes? Do I have to do more inventory? Do I have to make more amends? Yes, 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 yes. But I'm not fighting that anymore because I have experience saying when I do it the way they told me in 1980 and I do it right, my life just keeps getting better. If I don't do it right, I've had times when I went to my sponsor and I said, I worked the 12 steps and it didn't work. He says, well, let's go through it and see where you made your mistake. And I said, what do you mean my mistake? He says, if you worked them right, it would have worked. So we go through the 12 steps on whether it's a financial issue or relationship or money or fear or lust, greed, anger, on 7 deadly sins. And we do them. I do them with him. And usually he says, well, here's the 2 places you did it wrong. And when I when I correct the 2 mistakes and I do the 12 steps, lo and behold, it works again. And he says, what do you think of that? I used to say I thought it was a fluke, but now I guess it's a miracle. The miracles keep coming. And for me to be sitting here saying what I'm saying, I would have never thought I would do this. I just am so amazed at how much healthier I am today than I was back in my dark days, the first 35 years of alcoholism, and even in the other days of recovery when I was new. I didn't get a wand waved and I was this nice person. It's been a hard, long journey, but it's well worth it. I would do it again in a heartbeat, because now I know how much it means. How many times I almost quit, how many times God put an angel with me, whether it was a sponsor or a pet or something, put in my way to keep me doing what I'm doing. So it's very important for me to be aware of my humbleness. I've got to be humble. I don't have any secrets. I just have a lot of experience in this recovery, and it's made me a person that is beyond my comprehension. And everybody who knew me in the old days validates that 100%. They said, you're a totally different person. And the old one's still in there. I got them in maximum security, and I try never to let him out. And once in a while, he gets a little bit rowdy. But I used to hold grudges and anger at people for 15, 20 years or all my life. Now I can't do it for more than a day or two, and I don't like being miserable, so I let it go. I forgive. I do things that I didn't used to know how to do, but I'm doing it because it works and I'm better. I still get paid well for just living these steps and these principles and doing it. And doing this request to make a tape. That's my 12-step work. I hope you get something out of this. And, like I say, I carry the message. The ball's in your court. You take it or leave it. And I'll pray to my higher power for everybody who ever sees this tape that they take it. They have no clue how good it can get until you see it happening. And how do you see it happening? Going around in these meetings, and you see the newcomer come in where you were 10, 20, 30 years ago. And the first thing that comes into my mind, but for the grace of God, there goes me. If I hadn't kept coming to these meetings, I would be a mess. And that was absolute truth. So the new people remind me that I have alcoholism, not alcoholism. Same with Al-Anon and Vietnam and everything else. It's still in me, but I manage it instead of it managing me. So I hope you get something out of this. If you do, praise your higher power and mind. And if you don't, let me know how that works out for you, because that's what they kept telling me when I did it my way. How's that working? And it was always, well, it ain't. Try again. And I'm pretty persistent to keep on persevering in my sickness too. There's Maru. She's getting ready to shut this thing off. I'm about done. I've said everything I know. So God bless, and I hope that you find what you're looking for.